Hello, welcome to Soulprint Intuitive Tarot. I am recording this on Monday evening, shortly after 8 o'clock, Mountain Daylight Time. So, there was a draft of a majority ruling that was released today. So that in of itself has never ever happened before. But it was the draft written by Judge Alito, on basically overturning Roe. So let's take a look at that. It doesn't strike me as surprising that the last video I released was called Democracy with a Small D. And a lot of people sort of had a lot of opinions about what it was and what the thrust of the reading was. The thrust of the reading was about getting involved, staying involved, and understanding that sort of pulling away at this pivotal and instrumental time, particularly in the United States, but literally all around the world, is absolutely the last thing you want to do. And so, politics has become so transactional that it's like, well, Biden said he was going to do something about voting rights. He hasn't done it. I'm not voting. Biden said he was going to figure out the Supreme Court and make it not so lopsided. Well, he didn't do that, did he? I'm not voting. It's that kind of just frustration that is exactly what lower vibration energy is about. And that is exactly, in this moment, what seems to be driving the energy. I can only hope that if there was such a massive protest against the former guy being inaugurated, I would sincerely hope that there's an equally massive protest over this. You have 9 people on the court, and 5 of them, 6 of them, I've lost track. In any case, are really, really, really conservative, and they really, really, really want to get rid of Roe because they are infringing their religious beliefs and standards on the rest of the country. And for a constitution that talks about the separation of church and state, it is just an indicator of sort of how far things have shifted. And this didn't start last week. It didn't start 2 years ago. It's been going on for a few decades. But there was apparently not enough pushback for somebody to go, you know what, stop inflicting your religious beliefs. That's where we are. So I don't know if that's cheering anybody up. We're going to take a look at the cards and we're going to see if we can figure out what the heck is going on and see if we can figure out what potentially might happen. Now, that everybody is very quick to say, listen, this is the first draft, it's going to get adjusted, it's going to get changed, to be softened up, whatever. But the reality is this: as long as you have the majority of justices voting to overturn Roe, it doesn't really matter the language because the deed is done. Come on down. I have a question. one more quick shuffle. SCOTUS versus ROE. SCOTUS versus ROE. SCOTUS versus ROE. You know, unfortunately, the Supreme Court is completely self-governing and self-policing. They really don't have any rules they have to follow. And one would think that that's something that should get addressed. So this is not an auspicious beginning, right? Let's see. We've got the 4 swords. We've got the, we've got the 8 of cups. We have the 5 of cups. We have the 3 of wands. And the 3 of pentacles. So let's just start here. So, and understand this reading is based on the energy surrounding the time of the draft, which would have been in February, and it will be picking up the energy of the reaction. I have to say, at this point, Ro is on incredibly shaky ground, okay? Everybody could see it coming, but no one would actually believe that it would go that far. But somehow magically, you know, it would be saved. But what you have here is a whole lot of dark money, a whole lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. And whether that's the court or it's other politicians, whether it's certain religious organizations, but the reality is that right now, so much time and effort has gone into this, into beating the drum and getting that certain group of Americans just right whipped up about the fact that abortion has to be like outlawed, which is exactly what they're trying to do. And right now, it is in a very, very difficult place. You have the 4 of Swords talking about sometimes a death, an ending. You have the 8 of Cups talking about that sort of leaving a situation, walking away. And the 5 of Cups being devastated after it has been knocked down. You know, the 3 of Wands is that waiting. Now, I don't know. Let's see what the other cards say. I don't know. Apparently, this official ruling is not supposed to come out sometimes the end of June. And, you know, wonder how big a stink there's going to be about the fact that this, for the first time, apparently in the history of the Supreme Court, a draft of a ruling has been leaked. But there is a period here. It's a waiting. These people, the people who are so anxious to strike Roe. You know, it's interesting because if I remember correctly, and if I think I just heard correctly, it was Casey that sort of went before Roe, and that was about a ban, I guess, on birth control. So the reality is, women and enlightened men, that the government has been trying for a really, really, really long time to control women's bodies. And slowly, slowly, they have now put themselves in a position to do exactly that. To them, it was worth the wait. It was worth the sacrifice. It was worth everything because they wanted to turn back the clocks. Unfortunately, it's not even that they wanted to turn it back to the 1970s. Apparently, they want to turn it back to the 1870s or possibly the 1770s. So, interesting, right? Because you've got Judgment, you've got the Three of Swords, and then you have the Sun. The Sun will often soften or mitigate, some of the harsher cards that are around it. But as of right now, there is definitely a sense that when this judgment is passed, there is going to be a great deal of disappointment. Now, what's the Sun telling us? Interesting, of course, that, the wannabe King's card showed up here. There is strength. There's power in pushing back. And I'm not talking about, a January 6th event. Of course I'm not. But I am talking about, there are women out there. There are women who are watching this video right now who have been protesting for 60 and 70 years, perhaps longer. And, in some ways, that was a legacy to all the women that followed, to understand that women are incredibly strong. And they're strong and their strength when they come together for a common cause. It is remarkable to me that the majority of Americans absolutely do not approve of Roe being reversed. But somehow, right before our very eyes, it's happening. It is possible to start, sort of firing up. I'm reminded that Merrick Garland, I'm positive that he said, that they would fight this particular, situation. But I don't see that happening. And I don't see the Biden administration doing anything really definitive and constructive to move the court. And I'm not putting blame anywhere because, the United States, the government of the United States, the people of the United States, my God Almighty, your plates are so full that sometimes I think that just trying to keep up with the crazy that's going on must, in some cases, almost be debilitating. So that's where we are. Interesting. Interesting. I don't know what sort of coming, down the road. But these cards are interesting, particularly because they follow, the sun so close. It feels as if in some ways this could literally be the tower moment for the United States in terms of the people saying enough is enough. We're tired of these crazy conspiracy theories. We're tired of Republicans shoving their belief structures down our throats. And we are tired of, being patient and waiting around. Because honestly, you guys have been really patient. You've been waiting around for a lot of stuff for a while. And I think that this, just the suggestion, because remember, this is a draft, is going to be enough to really, really fire things up and get things moving. And I am talking about peaceful protests. I'm talking about reaching out to government officials on all levels. It doesn't look as if all is lost, but it's going to take some really hard work to get this thing like flipped around or turned around. And I don't know, I have to tell you honestly, I can't tell whether that it gets reversed and then there is a real push to reverse the reversal. Because I think in some quarters at this point, the concern is not only that the government wants to tell you what to do with your body in terms of a fetus being conceived, but apparently they also want to tell you, or they will want to tell you down the road, exactly how you cannot prevent conception. In life, there are always things that happen, situations, events, that sort of bring people together in a united front or force. You can see that going on in Ukraine, right? You have an entire country of people who were saying, no, 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 we are fighting back against this. We are standing united. This is not going to happen. And even in countries where there is a lot of partisan politics, there are some things that pull people together. And I guess at this point, it is an opportunity for people to come together and to fight literally the freedoms and the rights that are slowly, slowly being stripped away. So you have the worry, you have the anxiety, you have people all over the United States freaking out right now, absolutely freaking out. And listen, I would be too if I lived in the States, even though, those days are a little behind me. But there is a will to defend the rights and the freedoms. Of the situation, of this topic. The power of women is never, ever to be diminished or ignored or, assumed that the little woman will just comply. And yet she persisted. Okay. I'm going to ask the pendulum a couple of questions because what I'm getting here is, and maybe it's just too fast or too soon to read on this right now because everything is just so ramped up. But it feels as if ultimately the decisions that women need to make about their bodies will somehow or another end up reverting to them. And there's the law. I just wish I could tell you how that's going to happen. And I have to be honest, I'm not seeing how this plays out right now. Okay. Let's ask a couple of, this is going to be one of those situations where Chief Justice Roberts is probably going to end up voting with the Liberals because, that's what he does with contentious issues when it's not really going to, in any way, shape, or form, override what the Republicans want. And that's so sad. Okay. Pendulum. At this point, based on the current energies, and the energies, frankly, since February, is it likely that Roe is going to get overturned by the Supreme Court? Okay, so there's your yes. I'm so sorry. Is there going to be sufficient pushback, protests, people coming together for a common cause to actually have some significant impact on how this moves forward? I mean, you've watched all those Republican states just really, really putting in super strict state by state rules. But there is energy there to push back. If it is overturned, can it be reversed down the road? Okay, so that's a yes. And can that down the road happen? I don't know, 18 to 24 months, within 18 to 24 months. Okay, so yes. There is talk that the Republicans now want to issue a countrywide ban. Okay, so not just saying, give it to the state and whatever the state wants to do, they can do. But now apparently there is talk that Republicans are trying to move forward on a countrywide ban to just literally flat out make it illegal everywhere in the country. And it's such an interesting, on the one hand, they're saying leave it to the states. They know their people. And then once enough of those states are doing what, the really, really right-wing conservatives want them to do, then it's like, okay, well, never mind the states taking care of this. Now we're going to step in and do it as a country. Is there going to be any success trying to sort of outlaw abortion, make abortion illegal across the country. Okay. Is there still so is this issue going to start playing a really, really, really big role in the midterms? Yeah. And does this become a sustainable, motivating issue for independents and Democrats? Yes. Okay. So, kind of what you got here is this has sort of been a bit of a shock. It's one of those things where even though the writing's on the wall, you kind of hope that somehow or another sanity prevails. But I think we've learned when it comes to the right, there is no sanity that prevails. There's just no bottom. Again, I can't help sort of thinking of the irony of the last reading, right? Which was, again, that sort of call to arms. And I don't mean arms in a violent way. A call to action. That's a better way to say it. It's the same sort of energy that built momentum after the former guy was inaugurated. That was sustained. That was 4 years. Can this issue sustain people's passions long enough to shift the draconian, the completely, the attempt to completely put women in a submissive position? Is there enough passion to tell those who are crazy religious or have whatever other agenda they have that enough is enough? I don't know if this was comforting. I will revisit this, in a few days. I kind of want things to settle down a little bit. But I guess the bottom line is this. It's time to start pushing back gently. Until next time, take care. Be well. I'll see you really soon. Bye-bye.